Hey, it's Zack, and I'm back with another episode of Elevate and Accelerate. This is a podcast where we talk about building brands, leveraging your personal story, and growing your business, all by building trust and credibility with your audience in an authentic way. We call this building a celebrity expert brand because it's at the intersection of your experience and your expertise that you get to provide value to your audience where they see you as that go-to authority in your field. And so, as you can kind of tell, I'm a little bit under the weather today, so thank you for bearing with me. But as they say, the show must go on. And so in this episode, we're going to be diving into something that I find really relevant, right? And that's how the things happening within our local communities can really shape the way that we communicate, connect, and ultimately build trust with our customers. As you know, branding is a whole lot more than just a logo or catchy tagline. It's about the relationship that you create with the people you serve. In other words, and to say it again, branding is all about the relationship that you are forming and building with the people that you serve. And what is a community if it's not that? So I know in today's digital age, communities can extend far beyond a geographical location. And in today's episode, while we may talk more about how you can impact your local and geographic community, that really extends beyond that into, Facebook groups and social media channels. It can go into your mastermind and other places that you are creating impact and being impacted by others. So again, this relationship and how you build your brand is really everything right now, especially in a time where we are constantly being inundated with information from people, and your client is being inundated with information, and quite frankly, probably from your competition as well. So let's get started with me asking you this question. Have you noticed how when community events happen, some businesses respond beautifully while others miss the mark or don't even show up at all? We'll explore why this happens and how you can position yourself to not only avoid those missteps, but thrive by leaning into authentic trust building communication. So let's start with what's happening in your neighborhood. Maybe there's a local nonprofit that's hosting a fundraiser to support underprivileged kids, or small businesses on Main Street are banding together for a holiday market as we enter into this holiday season. Perhaps there's a new initiative that's addressing affordable housing, or a local high school just won a state championship. These events aren't just news, they're opportunities, and they're opportunities for you to connect. One of the biggest lessons here is that people are paying attention to how businesses engage in their community. And when they do, they're asking questions like, are you in tune with what's going on? Do you even care? And probably most importantly, can I trust you? You see, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And so your ability to be able to build trust and to be able to build a high level of trust and rapport as early on in the relationship process as possible is going to be instrumental to growing your business and creating a bigger impact. And in today's climate, storytelling is one of your most powerful tools to do that. But it's not just about sharing a story for the sake of sharing it. It's about telling a story that really resonates, a story that shows your audience who you are and why you care. It's about aligning your values with theirs and doing it in an authentic way. So let's look at an example, right? Hypothetically, let's take a small bakery in town that noticed a rise in food insecurity within the population there. Instead of just making a food donation or a monetary donation, they partnered with a local food bank to distribute bread and pastries on a weekly basis. They shared their efforts on social media, right? Because if you don't share the story, usually nobody else will either. But they do this not to brag, but because they want to encourage others to get involved as well. They're sharing their story and inviting other people to be a part of that story as well. And again, going back to this idea of relationships, I talk about relationships being the intertwining of stories together into one. Now, however long that relationship lasts is dependent upon, the depth and everything else that goes into it. But forever, those two people or those groups of people whose stories have intertwined will forever be a part of each other's stories, even if they head off on different paths. So again, going back to this bakery, their response in this situation wasn't just about marketing. It was about showing their community that they cared deeply about its well-being and being attuned and plugged into what's going on in their geographical location. So here's the key takeaway. It didn't have to be perfect. No response really ever is, but it was real. It was intentional, and that's what builds trust. Now, you might be thinking, Zach, look, I don't run a bakery or a nonprofit. So how does this apply to me? Here's the deal. It applies to all of us, whether you're a solopreneur, a small business owner, or leading a team of 50 people. You have a story to tell. And that story, with your unique experiences, your values, and your voice, is what's going to set you apart. But again, it's not enough to just tell it. You need to show your audience that you're listening and that you care about what they care about and that you're willing to show up for them. The same thing's true when dealing with my kids. They create a drawing or they color something and they show it to me, and they want me to be a part and see what it is that they're doing and to listen to what they're sharing, even if it's not colored within the lines or the entire picture is just pink like my daughter loves to do, especially when she was 3 in her early 4s. So how can we look at that as a parent and say, I really love hearing what you have to say. I really love this drawing because of what you've done, right? And so we can do that within our communities as well. And the way in which we do that, the way that which we can show them that we care about what they care about and that we're willing to show up for them, is all hinging on our ability to be vulnerable. If you listen to this podcast before, you know how passionate I am about this particular word, the idea of vulnerability and authenticity. Vulnerability isn't weakness. In fact, it's your greatest strength. And throughout the years, there's been a lot of people moving in that direction, right? I'm not the first person to ever say that, but within the business world, we hear things all the time like it's strictly business or, whatever it might be. It's not personal. And this is this idea that we are calloused to the impact that we have even on our employees or the other people. And so in our ability to break down those walls and those barriers and to come forth vulnerably, we can still make good business decisions, but in a way that's authentic and vulnerable and is uplifting and helpful for the people, even in the context of having to let them go. So back to the community. Right now, your community is hungry for connection, right? As we all are, because it's a part of who we are as humans. And so the business leaders and the businesses who lean into this idea, who share not just their successes, but their challenges and their values and all of these things, are the ones that are building the deepest trust. So how do you do it? I'll give you a few actionable steps that you can walk away with that'll help you getting started in building that type of connection with your community. First and foremost, you've got to stay informed. If you're going to respond to what's happening in your community, you need to know what's happening in your community. So you can follow local news outlets, you can join community Facebook groups, you can attend events when you can, right? But most importantly, you need to listen to the conversations that your neighbors are having. Now, again, this sounds like a geographical solution, but you can do the same thing in other types of Facebook groups or networking events or things that you're participating in, whether or not it's in your backyard. But understanding what's going on in your communities and what people are talking about gives you a great opportunity to be able to respond and show up in the ways that you can and provide value. So number 2, it needs to align with your values, right? So not every community event is going to align with your brand, and that's okay. But when something does, lean into it. You have to ask yourself, what do I believe about this particular situation, this event, this thing that's going on? How can I help? What story can I share that's authentic to me that can also spread the word and get other people involved? So that's a big part of all of this, is making sure that it aligns with your values. So one example of this is if you're constantly talking about, health for kids. And one of the biggest things that you're talking about is refined sugars and the impact that it has on their development and their brain development, and glucose and spiking of their blood sugar and all these other things. Holding an event or being a part of an event where they're handing out food dye candy is probably not aligned with your brand, right? And it wouldn't be. But there is other places and other opportunities where it may be. Perhaps outdoor activities for kids where they get to exercise and get out of the house and off of video games and things like that. So you want to find the things that are aligned with what it is that you're talking about in order to be able to have the greatest impact that is also authentic. Step three, you need to be transparent. Right. So there's nothing wrong with admitting the fact that you don't have all the answers. And in fact, often admitting that you don't is the most powerful tool rather than pretending that you do have the answers. So if you're supporting a cause or partnering for an initiative, especially for the first time, you can share why it matters to you and what steps you're taking, but be open and honest about the fact that this may be your first time, that you don't have the answers, that maybe you're a little bit reticent or nervous or anxious about what you can do and how you can get involved. But just talk about it. And that honesty is going to resonate far more than any polished but empty words that you might share along the way. The other thing is, now step four is inviting engagement, right? This is where your storytelling and your branding start to intersect. You've got to ask your audience to share their stories as well, create dialogue, invite people to participate in, the volunteering events and the things that are going on, whether it's your clients or your employees or whoever it might be. And ask what things are valuable to them. Perhaps there's a foundation or an organization that they're a part of that they would love to get other people involved with as well. So there's a lot of resources for you to be able to tap into, even going back to step one and listening to your people, because there's things that they're passionate about too, and will get more buy-in to your business and who you are and what you're doing if you listen to and help support the things that they're passionate about as well. But you've also got to share that on social media, right? You got to share this in your other channels, put photos of what you're doing up on your website, because that's the way in which you can show your audience that you are more than just, right? You're more than just a financial advisor. You're more than just a business coach or a local shop. You're somebody who cares about the community, and you're doing things to give and to give back. Right. And so if you don't share that story, as I mentioned earlier with our bakery example, if you're not telling people what's going on, then they're not going to know. Right. And so you sharing that story isn't just you patting yourself on the back, but it's letting people know what's going on, and it's keeping them informed. And really, that's what PR is all about. All right. So, in talking about all of this, about embracing your story, about sharing that story, about sharing the other stories, and creating impact within your community, it's all connected to who you are and your own experiences. So there's a reason why you would choose to support a particular foundation versus another. Like I love supporting veteran-run organizations or organizations that help veterans because I'm a veteran myself. And so I can share the story, my own story of why I'm passionate about helping veterans, and then share the stories of these organizations that I may support along the way. And Celebrity Branding Agency is the same. We've done documentaries for Canines for Warriors, or the Folds of Honor, which takes care of families who have lost loved ones. There's the Wounded Warrior Project, which I've donated to before. And so there's all these different things that are out there. And we've got clients who focus on health initiatives. We have clients who focus on veteran organizations, like I said, on supporting women and domestic abuse and whatever it is. A lot of times, and pretty much all the time, it stems from their own personal story and the things that they've been through. And that's why there's so much authenticity in how they support those places. And so for me, the same thing was true as I started to embrace my story, right? The good, the bad, the messy. It really transformed the way that I could connect with my audience as well. And so suddenly I wasn't just offering someone advice. I was somebody who had been there, right? I was somebody who had been through it and can share from a place of experience. And that is what authenticity really is. It's when we're aligned with our values, we're moving in that direction, we're sharing vulnerably what we've been through and helping other people to shorten their journey and their path to success. And that's what Elevate and Accelerate is all about, right? You elevate your brand and you accelerate your journey of success. So again, you don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to be willing to show up with whatever you have, to listen, to share, to care, and to trust that your vulnerability will be the kind of connection that's going to last. And I can almost guarantee you that it will. So as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with this one final thought. Your community is watching how you show up. Your neighbors are paying attention. They want to know not just what you do, but who you are. And the more you lean into your story, the more you show them your heart, the more you'll set yourself apart and the more trust you'll build. So thanks for joining me today again on an episode of Elevate and Accelerate. Hopefully you found this helpful. It got your mind thinking about some things that you can do to plug in, even in this holiday season, within your own community. And if it did, please share it with a friend. Leave a question or a comment or anything. I'd be happy to engage with you on there. You can also find me on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, just at Zack. So remember, your story has the power to transform not just your business, but the lives of those you serve. So until next time, keep elevating and accelerating. Cheers.